Hello, my name is Stephen Alf and welcome back to Alf Books, and today we are here to do a tag. The tag that we are doing today is called A Writer's Life for You tag, and I'm really excited to do these questions, so let's get started. What kind of a writer are you? I like writing short stories, poetry, and I've been writing a book for the last 5-6 years. When did you start writing? Well, there are kind of two phases in my history of writing. So when I learned how to write, I also started writing short stories. And I still have records of some of them. One of them was based on The Famous Five when I read that at the beginning of primary school, and it's quite fun to see that I basically copied The Famous Five without two of the characters or something like that. So it's quite funny. The second phase in my writing started about 6 years ago. At that time I started writing for multiple reasons. I had a very interesting French teacher who gave us very interesting essays, which would give us a picture and it'd be very open. So you could do pretty much anything you wanted, and I really liked that idea. At the same time, I discovered a few people's blogs, one person in particular who wrote poetry on her blog, and it's just brilliant to read it, and I kind of got into writing poetry through that and through a few other things as well. I got into writing at that point, and it was really fun, so that's when I really actually thought about becoming a writer and writing a lot more. So I guess it's the phase 1, actually start writing, phase 2, actually call myself a writer. What inspires your stories? I would say very important when you're writing is that what inspires you to write has to be what you know. You can't really base it off anything else. So what do I know? I know what I've read and I know what I've experienced. So I use pretty much anything. At the beginning when I started writing, one of the important things was I was my main characters. I was, to a certain extent, all of my main characters, and then I would diversify them and change them to make them independent. But to start with, I knew myself better than anyone else, obviously, so I used the fact that I knew a full person and based the characters on that, because then I had a structure that I knew was consistent and actually made sense, I hoped. And I would base that off there. Obviously, the more I wrote, the less I had to do that, and the more I could just create a character and have a character based on no one in particular, just from experiences from here and there. But obviously, again, everything is based on personal experience and imagination, mixing together what you know and what you've read. What themes do you like to explore in your writing? I don't really know if I have any particular themes that I would say I always try to talk about this or a similar theme in my stories. My stories would be based either on a character, a storyline, or a world. And so I build a world about that, and then if there's any themes that I think are important because they fit well into that, I will bring them in. But I don't have any themes that I would say are or have to be in the stories. Are you a pantser or a plotter or a bit of both? I would say I'm very much a plotter. I love building a story, building a world, building a character's history before I actually start writing about the character. So I'll be there, I'll create a timeline, I'll create a family tree, I'll create a map of the world that the story is happening in before I even actually start writing the world and the story. I would say I'm a bit of a pantser as well, because obviously sometimes a character will come to mind first and I'll have no story for the character, so I'll just start writing the story for that character. I'll just start writing about a specific place or specific character and how he's acting in a specific moment, and I'll just start writing and writing, and then if something comes to me I'll just write and continue. And so I mean, there is a bit of that as well, but obviously, as I said before, I'm mostly a plotter. Where are you in your journey? At the moment I am just writing and I haven't gotten anything published or agented or anything like that yet. Have you entered any writing contests? I haven't entered anything apart from NaNoWriMo. I don't know if it counts like a full-on contest, but I've participated in NaNoWriMo 3 times and Camp NaNoWriMo once, and I've won NaNoWriMo once 3 years ago. Who are your writing heroes? Obviously the writers that got me into writing would be my writing heroes, as well as some other writers I've discovered since that I have been quite inspired by their writing style. So I would say Pierre Bottero, as I've mentioned before, he is one of my favourite authors and is definitely one of the big authors that came into play when I started writing. C.S. Lewis is also a big author in terms of how he brought me into this world of fantasy, building parallel worlds and all that. It's just fantastic. Garth Nix would be another big writer for me in this kind of development of what I actually really like in fantasy. More recently, I would say Jules Verne. He has an incredible way of detailing out places and information about the world that is around us. He is very intelligent in terms of his scientific knowledge and how he brings it into his stories. His science fiction novels are absolutely fantastic. And another author that I would say for this same reason is H.G. Wells. Both of those are visionaries and incredible in their writing. Have you been to a writing conference? I haven't actually been to a specifically writing conference, but I have been to a fantasy and science fiction conference, which is called Les Imaginales. It would also technically be about writing to a certain extent, as anything that has to do with books obviously goes back to the craft and how they were written. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting. First time I ever went to any type of conference, and I just loved the way you could talk to authors, you could go up to them, you could get books signed, and you could just be there for a while and discuss things with them, and it's just fantastic. And I'm definitely going back next year. And last question, top 3 tips that you would give to a newbie writer? Well, I would say first of all, write what you know and go from there. I would also say you have to read. You need to explore the worlds that are around you. Obviously, travelling is a possibility for that, but reading is a lot less expensive and far more approachable, and you're also exploring the craft that you're trying to develop. If you want to write, you have to know what has been written and how it's been written, develop kind of your way to approach it, your writing style, what you like, what you don't like in your reading, and how you can bring that across to your writing. My last tip would be don't give up. It's hard. It's hard, it takes a long time, and a lot of it will be terrible at the beginning. I look back on things I've written, I think it's terrible. I look at what I'm writing at the moment, I think it's terrible. But there's pieces that are good, and those pieces will become more frequent the more you write, and the more you get used to it. Don't give up. That brings us to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had loads of fun answering these questions, and when I saw this tag, I really had to do it. I will put a link in the description to the original tag. I haven't really thought about who to tag for this, because there's a lot of booktubers out there, and I don't always know who of the booktubers I watch also write. They don't actually always say if they write as well. And so if you are a writer, I would love you to answer these questions. Let me know if you do this, and I will add the link to your video in the description so that people can check them out, because I really like the idea of having a chain of videos that you can go from one to another on the same topic to get different people's point of views. I hope you have a great week. I will see you next week. That's all from me. Bye.